बड़ा ना ठीक है प्रॉब्लम Good morning, students.
Good morning, sir.
Activity at Yaluki, and so I was late to log in. Now it is my time now. It is 11:30. So we'll start our class now. Now we are studying the epithelium. So epithelium, it is a primary tissue.
Sir, several of them are there.
And we have seen that the classification of the epithelium, how epithelium is classified as, and various types of the epithelium. अरे नेक्स्ट स्लाइड चेंज नहीं होती. How does change the slide? Yeah, this. So wait for 1 minute. I am adjusting the slide. डिस्कनेक्ट हो जाएगा. Okay, so now epithelial membrane. So next topic, that is the epithelial membrane. So we have studied the epithelium and the various functions of the epithelium and locations of the epithelium inside the body. So the epithelium, that is one of the primary tissues, and this epithelium do not get significance or do not get importance unless and until it is described along with underlying connective tissue. So when the epithelium is described along with underlying connective tissue, so it forms the wash membranes in the body, and these wash membranes which is formed in the body, they are capable of doing a particular functions. So these membranes which is formed inside the body, these are usually two in number, serous membrane and the mucous membrane. So epithelium do not assume its full significance unless it is considered along with underlying connective tissue. With underlying connective tissue, it forms vast membranes of the body, and these membranes are the serous membrane and the mucous membrane. Now, serous membrane, that is a cross-like membrane that is present inside the thorax, abdomen, and the pelvic cavity. In thorax, it is called as pleura. In abdomen, peritoneum. And this serous membrane, that it covers all the visceral organ, all the flanking organ kept in the thorax and the abdomen, and thus it's the outermost covering. And then after covering this organ, this serous membrane connects it to the lateral wall of the abdomen and thorax, keeping this organ in position or holding these organs in position. So this is the serous membrane that is doing its function along with underlying tissue. So both of these membrane, serous and the mucous membrane, and the mucous membrane that lines the cavities of the tubes of the digestive, respiratory, and urogenital systems. So both are the serous and the mucous membrane, and these are the simply epithelial membranes that is we are considering it now along with underlying connective tissues. So both of these membrane, it is mainly composed of three layers. That is the surface epithelium, basement membrane, and lamina propria. So this lamina propria, it is a layer of loose connective tissue. Now, the main difference between the serous membrane and the mucous membrane. So, serous membrane, so it is also composed of three layers. Mucous membrane, it is composed of three layers. So, both here, that is the topmost layer, that is the surface epithelium, which rests on the basement membrane, and below, which is a layer of the lamina, loose connective tissue, that is the lamina propria. In serous membrane, in lamina propria, there may be more elastic fibers are there, and sometimes in some books, some author use the word fibroelastic connective tissue or fibroelastic layer, but it is a lamina propria. So both the serous membrane and mucous membrane, it is composed of three layers: surface epithelium, basement membrane, and the lamina propria. Now, in case of the serous membrane, the surface epithelium is only of one kind, that is mesothelium. So epithelium, in case of the serous membrane, it is of only one kind, that is mesothelium, a simple squamous epithelium that originates from the embryonic mesoderm. But in contrast to the serous membrane, the mucous membrane is having surface epithelium that is it may be varied from place to place and from organs to organ, such as cuboidal epithelium in case of the kidney, columnar epithelium in the intestine, transitional epithelium in case of the urinary bladder. So whatever the types of epithelium we have studied, that may be present as a surface epithelium in the mucous membrane. So in serous membrane, it is only one kind of the epithelium, that is a simple squamous epithelium, while in mucous membrane, different kinds of the epithelium it is present. Now, in the serous membrane, no gland it is present. Inside the serous membrane, no gland. But inside the mucous membrane, both serous as well as the mucous glands are present. So, serous membrane epithelium that originates from the mesoderm, while the epithelium of the mucous membrane, it originates from ectoderm, mesoderm, or endoderm, either from any one of the germ layers. So, that is different in different organs like this. Usually, when it is digestive respiratory part, it is from the endoderm. When it is male genital system, urinary system, it is from the mesoderm, likewise. And that is slight differences. Now, the function of the serous membrane is binding and keeping the visceral organ in its original position, while the function of the mucous membrane is absorption, secretion, and protection. Example of the serous membrane, that is the pleura in case of the thorax, peritoneum in case of the abdomen and pelvic cavity, and pericardium in the thorax, that it is sat around the heart. So the mucous membrane, that is the mucous membrane of the digestive, respiratory, urinary, and the genital system, male and female, in the two different sexes. So these are the mucosa of the, that is the location of the mucous membrane. So these are the serous membrane and the mucous membrane that is formed by the epithelium tissue along with underlying connective tissue. And so these, together with connective tissue, the epithelium is doing these functions, various functions like this. Now, just like I told you, the serous membrane is composed of three layers. So this is the number one, surface epithelium, that is simple squamous epithelium, that is also called as mesothelium. Below that is the basement membrane, and then this is a layer of lamina propria. So lamina propria, it is a loose connective tissue. It is also called as areolar connective tissue, because whenever we study the loose connective tissue or fascia in the laboratory, and when it tries to pull, when we try to pull it away from the body organs, so the air from the atmosphere, it enter into the loose connective tissue and it entraps in a smaller bubbles. And so whenever such tissue observed under the microscope, it shows that the tissue is composed of small air bubbles. And that is the reason why it is called as areolar tissue. So it is but the same tissue, that is the loose connective tissue. So this is a lamina propria, and these are the three layers of the serous membrane. Similarly, in the mucous membrane, it is again of three layers. This is the surface epithelium, which rests on the basement membrane, and below the layer of connective tissue, that is the lamina propria. Here, the surface epithelium, it is the pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. So this is the mucous membrane or serous membrane, either it may be one, it is composed of three layers: surface epithelium, basement membrane, and the layer of connective tissue, that is the lamina propria. And thus they form the epithelial membranes in the body. Now, next membrane that will come always in contact, that is the synovial membrane. And the synovial membrane, it is not the epithelial membrane, it is a connective tissue membrane, and it is entirely different from the epithelial membrane. So the synovial membrane, it lines the joint cavities, and that is also called as synovia. So synovia, or it is also called as synovial membrane, and it is a connective tissue membrane. So connective tissue that we are going to study next. So it is a second basic tissue of the body, and the cells of this connective tissue, it mainly forms, or they become compactly arranged and form this membrane that is called a synovial membrane. So it is a connective tissue membrane, is a cellular layer composed of connective tissue cells which secrete viscid colorless liquid of joint cavity called as joint oil. Synovial membrane may rest on fatty tissue or fibrous tissue or muscles or periosteum. Fold of the synovial membrane or villi may be effaced or remains permanent. So the synovial membrane, it has some finger-like smaller fold, so it's called as villi. So this villi may be remains present permanently, or it may be effaced, as the case may be. So there is increase in the size and number of villi with age. So as the age of the animal increases, the number of villi increases. New islets of cartilage are formed in them by metaplasia of synovial fibroblast. So the normal structure, it is slightly changing, and aging process started. And so during the aging process, as the animal become mature, old, so these villi are increases in number and in the cartilage. So because of the metaplasia, so new small cartilage are formed, and they lose the elasticity of the smoothness of the synovial membrane. So the synovial fluid, it is secreted by the cells of the connective tissue, which mainly form the synovial membrane. And the synovial fluid, it is a dialysate or a filtrate of blood plasma. Plus, it contains hyaluronic acid, plus lymphocyte, plus monocyte, and macrophages cell. So these are the different three kinds of the cell, plus hyaluronic acid, and it is the blood plasma. So all this makes it form a sticky, very smooth oiling fluid, and that is called a synovial. It oils and lubricate the free surfaces of the joints, and this is the synovial fluid. So actually, this is a synovial membrane, it is a connective tissue membrane, but just to avoid confusion with the epithelial membrane, we have studied the synovial membrane just along with the epithelial membrane. So this is the diagram of the synovial membrane. You see this is the all cells of the loose connective tissue, and that is called as synoviocytes. And the synoviocytes, they are compactly arranged, below which it is a mast cell, fibroblast, and all macrophage cells, which are embedded in a connective tissue matrix along with some fibers. These are the fibers. And these connective tissue cells, along with the fibers and other cells, they form the synovial membrane. So there is no epithelial cell, it is here. And it is another membrane inside the body that is called a synovial membrane. It is entirely formed by the connective tissue. And location of that, it is a joint. Our diaphragmal joints are lined by internally synovial membrane. So next topic, that is the junctional complexes, and we have studied lot of epithelial cells. So millions of the epithelials are present in the body, and that form the basic tissue that is called epithelium. So how these millions of the epithelial cells maintain their integrity? So they remain together. And I think this topic, it is covered by Dr. P.C. Kalita. So these all the cells are maintain their integrity because they are connected well together with these junctional complexes. Here you see diagram one cell and another cell, and these are all connected with the this one cell is connected with the cell membrane of the adjacent cell by means of the different type of the cell to cell attachment or intercellular bridges, or it is also called as junctional complexes. and these are of 5 types. Zonula adherens, it is very tight junction. Zonula occludens, zonula adherens, macula adherens, nexus or gap junction, and hemidesmosum at the basal border. So this is already covered by Dr. Kalika, so I will not repeat it again here. We will shift to the next topic, that is the keratinization. So we have seen that the epithelium that covers our body, the skin that completely covers our body and also lines the tissue, respiratory and neurogeneral systems as a mucous membrane. So body, it is completely covered by the skin. So whenever there is a stratified squamous epithelial tissue, it is there, and when this tissue exposes to wear and tear or hard climatic condition, so at that time to protect our body, so it is a nature gift that the superficial cells of the stratified squamous epithelium, it undergo a process of hardening, and so because of the superficial layer become hard, so it resists the adverse climatic agents and protect our body from wear and tear. And this is the process that is named by the scientist as a keratinization. So there are two processes are there, keratinization and cornification. So more or less both the processes are same. That is the hardening of the stratified squamous epithelium or hardening of the epithelial cell to protect our body from wear and tear. But there is a slight difference in between the keratinization and cornification. What is that? We'll see now. What is keratinization? First we'll see. Keratinization, it is a conversion of protoplasmic mass into soft keratin. So simply, what is keratinization? So the cell, it is epithelial cell, it is composed of protoplasmic mass, and this living cell, it is slowly completely converted into a packets of or a small units of the hard protein, that is the keratin. So this keratin, it is two types, soft keratin and it's a hard keratin. So when it is converted into keratin, then the cell becomes tougher, and it can withstand the. So keratin, it is a water-resistant protein. So what is keratin? It is a water-resistant protein that forms a protective barrier against the destructive forces of the environment. Now, keratinization, actually, it is a genetically programmed complex series of morphologic changes and metabolic events whose endpoint is terminally differentiated dead keratinocytes that contains thin filaments, matrix protein, and a protein-reinforced plasma membrane with surface-associated lipids. So whatever the cells which you see on the surface of the skin of the human being also, of the animal also, so this is all dead keratinocytes. And the surface of the skin, it is all keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. So daily from the surface of our body, millions of the cells are lost, which are replaced by highly dividing cells in the stratum basale or stratum germinativum, lower layers. So we have seen the structure of the stratified squamous epithelium, lower layer, that is stratum basale, then stratum spinosum, then stratum lucidum, stratum granulosum, and stratum corneum. So these are the different layers, and the cell when passes from stratum basale to stratum corneum, so it is slowly becoming dead. Slowly it moves away from the nutrition, and various changes are taking place. The complete cytoplasmic mass changes, all cytoplasmic organelles disappear, and the complete cytoplasmic mass changes into the protein keratin. And this process is called as keratinization or hardening of the stratified squamous epithelium to protect our body from wear and tear. So chemically, keratin can be classified as hard keratin and soft keratin. Softer keratin has less sulfur and therefore fewer cross-links. Soft keratin is almost exclusively as the outermost layer of the skin, that is the epidermis. So how this keratin protein it is formed, and how then it is sulfurified with the sulfur. If there are more sulfuric atoms linked in a keratin, then it becomes more harder. Less sulfur, it is soft keratin, and more sulfur, that is a hard keratin. So that is the difference. So the keratin that is present in the epidermis, so that is a soft keratin, and this process is called as keratinization. So keratinization involves gradual disappearance of cell organelles like Golgi complex, mitochondria, nuclei, and decreased lysosomal activity with simultaneous accumulation of the keratin filaments. Conversion of living cell into dead cell at superficial layer by converting protoplasmic mass into unit of protein keratin. No nuclei as cells keratinocytes are dead cells. So inside the layer there is no nucleus because cell is dead. The cell present keratohyalin granules containing keratin. An example that is the skin, mucous membrane of the mouth, esophagus, ruminant stomach, that is the rumen, reticulum, and omasum, and the part of the anus, etc. So here the stratified squamous epithelium contain stratified squamous epithelium is keratinized and contain keratin, soft keratin. Now, what is then cornification? So cornification, it is same thing as the keratinization, but the keratin which is formed, it is a hard kind. It is more sulfated. It is more sulfated. So cornification, it is a conversion of epithelial cells into hard keratin protein. Cornification, it is a conversion of the epithelial cells of the epidermis into more tougher and harder material that is called as hard keratin. And examples are horn, nails, hair, claws, and beak in case of the bird. So that is slight difference in the two processes, keratinization and cornification. In keratinization, soft keratin is formed, example skin, and in cornification, hard keratin it is formed, that is the horn. So difference in soft keratin and hard keratin is that in hard keratin it is more sulfated than the soft one. So now by this we have completed here the related topic of this membranous epithelium, and now we will be studying the glandular epithelium. So the epithelium, it is one of the primary tissue, and it is broadly classified as membranous epithelium and glandular epithelium. Now what is this glandular epithelium? So these glands are the compact aggregation of the epithelial cells that is meant for the purpose of secretion of something. So the glands are formed from germ layer by the process of invagination or evagination. So when the cells are growing in a plane and when the cells they grow to the inner side, so that is called as invagination, the growth of the surface in, and evagination, that is the growth of the surface out. By these two processes, the various glands of the body, it is formed from the various germ layers of the body. Now, how these glands, hundreds of the glands are formed, and how these glands are classified. So, depending upon their various criteria, the scientists have classified the glands as three types. So, first type, depending on morphologic characteristics. Morpho means the form, external appearance. So morphologic means how these glands look externally, how their shape is. So according to that, so on the basis of that criteria, the morphological characteristic, the glands are classified as unicellular glands and multicellular glands. So unicellular, the word that is composed of two parts, uni and cellular. So uni means one and cellular means composed of a cell. So the gland which is composed of one cell, that is called as unicellular gland, and that is the goblet cells, melanocytes, etc. So goblet cell, it is also single cell gland located in the intestine and various places of the body that secrete the mucus. Melanocyte, it is present in the skin that synthesize the pigment melanin. So these are the single cells that function as a gland. Now multicellular glands, as the name indicates, multi means many. So these multicellular glands are composed of many cells. And these glands then are broadly classified as intraepithelial glands and extraepithelial glands. So intra means within, inside, and extra means outside. So for example, intraepithelial glands, so that is located inside the epithelium, inside the mucous membrane. And these are located at various places as vas deferens, urethra, larynx, even in this ductuli frontis. At many places, these intraepithelial glands are located. Now, extra epithelial, so outside the epithelium, extra epithelium that is the outside, for example, terrestrial and extraterrestrial. Terrestrial means the animal living on the earth, extraterrestrial outside the earth. And that is the meaning of the word extra epithelial, outside the epithelium. So extra epithelial glands are classified as endocrine glands and exocrine glands. Indo means inside and crine means I secrete. So endocrine means the glands which secrete their secretion in the body, in the bloodstream, that is called as endocrine glands. And exo means outside the gland, and the glands of the body which secrete their secretion outside their substance of the body by some duct system, and that is called as exocrine glands. So extraepithelial glands, these are endocrine glands and exocrine glands. So exocrine glands, these are again classified as simple glands and compound glands. So simple glands, these are unbranched, and compound branch, these are usually branched. So simple exocrine glands are again classified depending upon their shape, whether the gland it is a tube-like or whether it is a acinus-like or balloon-like, or it is a having both combination of both tubule as well as the small cavity. So it is called as tubuloacinar gland. So simple tubular means it is simply a tube there, and the tubularity it is internally lined by the columnar or cuboidal cells, and such gland it is called a simple tubular gland. And examples are the intestinal gland, sweat gland, fungi gland, etc. Sim
Oh, it's like a
Huh?
it's like a yeah.
एक slide.
नहीं एक मिनट
My voice is audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. I will continue. Okay, I will continue. Okay. So these exocrine glands are depending upon their complexity in their growth. These are classified as simple and compound. The simple glands are usually unbranched and compound glands are usually branched. The simple glands are again classified as tubular if they have a shape of a tube. They are also called as acinar or alveolar if they have a balloon, small balloon-like shape. And if they have both the combination of both tube as well as the balloon-like shape or alveolus, so that is called as tubuloacinar glands. The compound exocrine glands, so these are the same glands, but these are branched glands. So compound tubular gland, so means these glands, it is composed of tube, but this tube it is again branched into 2 or 3 branches, likewise. So example, that is the kidney and testis. So compound acinar glands, that is the mammary gland, compound tubuloacinar gland. So this gland, it is having combination of both the secretory unit, tubular as well as the alveolar or acina types. And so it is called as combination of the tube as well as the acinus. So tubuloacinar gland. So compound tubuloacinar glands, these are parotid, mandibular, and pancreas. So these are the 3 different types of the gland, tubular, acinar, and combination of tubuloacinar. So acinus means a berry-like, it's just a fruit. A berry, how it is a fruit? It is a circular one, rounded one. So that is the difference between acinus and alveolar. So acinus means a berry-like, but inside of the wall of the berry, it is lined by epithelial cells with less cavity. But alveolus, it is just like a balloon. And inner wall of the balloon, it is lined by either columnar cells or cuboidal secretory cells with a large cavity in the balloon, inside the balloon. So that is the lumen of the alveolus. And that is the difference between acinus or alveolus. So alveolus actually means a little cup-shaped cavity or small balloon-shaped cavity. And acinus means a berry-like. So that is the difference between acinus and alveolus. So in the acinus, there is no much wider lumen, but in the alveolus, there is much wider lumen is present. Now, depending upon the secretory product, the glands are classified as serous gland, mucous gland, or mixed gland. Whether they secrete a watery substance, that is the serous, or a sticky substance, that is the mucus, or a combination of both, serous as well as mucous substance, that is called as mixed type of the gland. So the serous gland are those glands which secrete a clear, watery, hay-like fluid, and that is called as serous fluid, serous fluid. And usually it contains thymogen granules, enzymes that is helpful for the further process of the digestion. So examples are the parotid gland, pancreas. So these are the serous glands. Now mucous gland, it secretes a viscous sticky substance that is called as mucus. And example of the pure mucous gland, that is the palatine glands. Now mixed gland, so this type of the gland, it contains both the secretory unit, that is the serous as well as the mucus, and that is also called as seromucous gland. And examples are mandibular gland, sublingual salivary glands. Now we are studying wide range of the domestic animals, and the slight differences are there even in some animals. Parotid gland is also a mixed type of the gland, while in other it is purely a serous type of the glands. So slight differences are there, and that we are going to study with the differential anatomy. Now the third way of the classification, that is depends on the mode of secretion. As neurocrine or eccrine gland, example prostate, and usually all the glands of the body are of this type, neurocrine gland. Apocrine, sweat gland, holocrine, sebaceous gland, cytokine, melanocyte, cytogenic gland, testes, and ovaries. Now, in detail, we are going to study all these glands. Now, unicellular gland, you see, so this is the epithelium, it is there, and this is all the simple columnar epithelium which rests on this basement membrane. Below is the layer of loose connective tissue, and that is forming mucous membrane. So this epithelium, it is composed of single layer of the columnar cells, and it is called a simple columnar epithelium, and its location is usually intestine. And you see some of the cells of this intestine, they are highly specialized to secrete the mucus. So mucus, it is synthesized in the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus, and then it is stored inside the cytoplasm in a membrane-bounded vesicles here. And so they accumulate here at the apical border of the cell. This is the apical border of the cell, and this is the basal border of the cell. And because they accumulate at the apical border of the cell, so they assume a form of a globe, a rounded shape, and that is the reason why this gland, it is given the name goblet cell. So goblet means a shape of a globe, a rounded shape. Rounded shape, it assumes on accumulation of the mucus inside the cytoplasm. So that is the reason, and this is the example of the unicellular gland. Now the simple glands, so just I told you, this is a tubular gland. So it is just like a tube, and inside the tube, the inner wall of the tube, it is lined by the columnar cuboidal cells, and only a small lumen it is present that carries the secretion of the cells, secretory cells in the tubule. And such secretory structures, which is a tube-like, that is called as tubular glands. Now this is the acinar and this is the alveolus. You see the difference between acinus and alveolar type. So acinar, it is just like acinus means a berry-like. For example, any berry fruit you take, how it is rounded here. The inner wall of this, it is lined by this pyramidal columnar cells, and they mostly reaches up to the center of the acinus, where there is a small lumen it is present, and that carries the secretion of this acinus. Now here alveolus, you see the secretory unit, it is also rounded, but the cells are low cuboidal or the low columnar in shape, and here it is a large lumen it is present, and sometimes the secretory product temporarily stored inside the lumen, and whenever it is a necessary of the gland, it has to store the secretion for a temporary period. So such type of the gland is having alveolar type of the arrangement. Otherwise, there is a acinar type of the arrangement. Acinar. So this is this classification of the simple gland, simple tubular gland, simple acinar gland, or simple tubulo-acinar gland. So that is combination of the both. Likewise. Now here also below you see there is a diagram. So that is also in upper row. That is a simple type of the glands are there. So in first variety there is a simple tubular gland. So here it is a branched tubular gland. So here the tube, it is coiled. So it is a coiled tubular gland. And here it is a branch alveolar. It is a branch, but alveoli are there. So it is a branched alveolar one. So all are the variety are simple. So simple are simple tubular gland, simple branch tubular gland, simple coiled tubular gland, and simple branch alveolar glands. Now compound glands I have actually branching, just like a branch of a tree. And this may be having a secretory unit as a tubule or secretory unit either as a alveolus or acinus or combination of both. And depending on that, these are named as tubular or alveolar or tubulo-alveolar, combination of the both. Now, intraepithelial glands. So, intraepithelial glands are located within the epithelium of vas deferens, urethra, ductuli, frontis, of testicle, and the larynx. So, this is the diagram of the mucosa of the larynx. You see that this is the mucous membrane, that is the pseudostratified columnar epithelium. So, it is a one cell, but the nuclei are seen located at different layers gives the false impression that the epithelium is composed of many layers. But it is a single cell that is resting on the basement membrane, and not all of them reaches to the apical surface. So some are short cells, some are tall cells. So taller cell only reaches at the apical surface, while shorter cell do not reach it. And the nucleus of each cell, it is located in the center of the cell. So the short cell, it is having the nucleus located in its center, that is at lower level, and the tall cell, that its nucleus is also located in the center, but it is at higher level. So nuclei, all the nuclei are different level, giving the false impression that the epithelium is composed of many layers, and that is why pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium. And you see, these are the gland cells, and these gland cells are completely located or lies within this epithelium. They are also not touching the connective tissue below. And so such secretory glands or such secretory cells of the epithelium, when they are located inside the epithelium, that is called as intraepithelial glands. And these are the examples at many places these glands are there. Now again, simple exocrine glands. So that is a simple acinar or alveolar gland. So this is the diagram of a skin here. This is the hair, one shaft you see, that is the shaft of the hair. And this is the neck of the hairs. And this is the epidermis, and this is the dermis. And so you see, this is the at the neck of the hair, there is a opening of this gland, and this is the sebaceous gland. So that secrete the waxy substance over the comes on the skin, and that lubricate the skin externally. And those animal which is having more sebaceous gland secrete more oily substance. We say that his skin is oily, while others skin is dry. Likewise, in animal it is also same, and this is the gland that is called a simple acinar gland. An example, sebaceous gland. You see the unit, secretory unit, it is a acinar type, and so it is called as simple acinar gland. Below you see simple tubulo-acinar or tubulo-alveolar exocrine gland. So this is a, you see here, this is a tubular type of the secretory unit, and this is the acinar type of the secretory unit. And when in a gland there are both the secretory units are present, it is called as tubulo-acinar or tubulo-alveolar type of the gland. And examples are the buccal glands and lingual glands. So these are called as minor salivary glands. The major salivary glands, because they are called as major, because they are bigger in size. Minor, they are called as minor because they are smaller in size. Major are three in number: parotid salivary gland, mandibular, and sublingual. While minors are buccal, palatine, and lingual, and etc. So these are the glands. These are present here. Now the glands of the body, it is again classified as the secretory product. So as serous gland, mucous gland and mixed gland. Now serous gland. Serous, what is serous? Why they are called as serous gland? Serous is a clear watery hair-like albuminous fluid. Sorry, here B it is not typing mistake. So albuminous fluid present in thymogen granule. So this serous gland, it is a clear watery fluid. This is secreted by the cells, and this serous watery fluid it is a secretory product, and that then it is packed in a membrane bounded granules inside the cytoplasm, and these granules are known as thymogen granules. So these are membrane bounded granules, thymogen granules. So name thymogen. So thymo means enzymes and gen means I produce. So thymogen, yes, that means I produce the enzymes or the granules that are producing the enzymes. So that is called as thymogen granule. So when the thymogen granule that reaches to the apical border of the cell, and by simply process of exocytosis, the cell releases this product outside the cell by the process of exocytosis. And so this serous fluid come outside the cell, which contain enzymes, and these enzymes then help in digestion of the food material for conversion of the complex type of the food material into its simpler form. The thymogen granule contain enzymes are destined to break down the protein outside the cell. So usually these thymogen granules, these are contains the enzyme that usually break down the proteins that is located outside the cell. If a particular protein it has to broken down inside the cell, so that enzyme it is located in the lysosome, another cell organelle present inside the cell. That is also called a suicidal bag lysosome, and that contains the enzyme that break down the protein inside the cell. So this is the serous glands that secrete serous fluid containing enzymes. Now mucous glands are those glands which secrete mucus. So mucous glands secrete mucus. Mucus is a thick viscous fluid stored in mucinogen droplets. Mucinogen droplets in the cytoplasm. Mucinogen droplets accumulate in apical portion of the cytoplasm of cell, forces the nucleus into basal portion of the cell. Golgi body and mucinogen droplets are located at apical pole, while mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum are located at the basal pole or basal border, in between the nucleus and basal border of the cell. Mucinogen is the precursor of the protein mucin. When mucin is mixed with water, it forms the mucus. So this mucus gland, it secretes the mucus, and this mucus, it is produced by this Golgi complex as a mucinogen. So mucinogen means mucin protein, and gen means I produce, I generate. So this mucinogen means I generate or I produce the mucin protein. Likewise, so this mucinogen droplets, which is capable of producing the protein mucin, these are stored inside the cytoplasm as a membrane-bounded vesicle as a mucinogen droplets, and they accumulate usually at the apical border of the cell, and this thus because of their accumulation they occupy all the apical space inside the cell, pushing other cells organelles to the lower side, to the basal side. Even the nucleus it is pushed to the basal border, and the nucleus it is pressed, and it may be slightly wrinkled or it may be slightly crescent in shape. The original nucleus in the cell, it is a rounded, it is a spherical, but as soon as the cell performs the function of formation of the mucus droplet accumulate inside the cytoplasm, pushing the nucleus to the basal border of the cell. And so, because of that reason, the cell organelles, some cell organelles, these are located at the basal border, and some cell organelles, these are called located at the apical border, making the cell polarized like this. And this produces the mucin. So when the mucin, it is formed from the mucinogen outside the cell surface, it is mixed with the water, and thus it forms the mucus. So mucus, it is equal to mucin plus water. So what is mucin actually? It is a glycoprotein, a combination of the glycogen plus a protein moiety. So these two form the protein mucin. Now this is a diagram of the mucus cell. Very well, you see how these mucus droplets these are occupied at the apical cell here, and thus pushing all the cell organelles below. Even the nucleus it is pushed to the basal border of the cell. So the Golgi complex, free ribosomes, lysosomes, these are located in between the nucleus and apical border, while mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum, rough and smooth, it is located between the nucleus and the basal border. So this is causing polarization of the cell. So this is the one pole, apical pole, and this is the basal pole of the cell. This is the apical border or the luminal border of the cell. This is the lateral borders, and this is the basal border, which is attached to the basement membrane below, or its attachment, like this. So this is a very typical example of a mucus cell in the mucus gland. Because of accumulation of the mucinogen droplet at apical portion, the cell assumes a rounded shape, hence called goblet cell. Mucus form a protective covering over the lining epithelium of digestive, respiratory, and urogenital systems. So this mucus, after releasing, it lines the apical surface of the cells that lines the digestive tube, respiratory tube, and urogenital tube. So in the digestive system, it lies and form a protective layer because inside the stomach, hydrochloric acid it is secreted, and this hydrochloric acid it is very sharp. It digests the complex food material. So why not it digest the local body cells or gastric cells? So it can also digest the cells of the stomach. But to avoid this complication, so this mucus form a protective layer over this apical border of the cell, and thus the cells of the stomach and intestine these are protected from the action of these various chemicals like hydrochloric acid, etc., from their actions. Likewise, so thus mucus it is a protective. You see a typical diagram of a serous cell. So serous cell it is usually a columnar or a pyramid in shape. Just like a pyramid, it has a triangular shape. This is the base of the pyramid, and this is the apex of the pyramid, and this is the centrally placed circular nucleus, a spherical nucleus with the nucleolus in the center. So the cell organelles are all spread throughout the cytoplasm. Usually the Golgi apparatus and endoplasmic reticulum smooth and few rod-shaped mitochondria, these are also located in the apical cytoplasm, while filamentous mitochondria and rough surface endoplasmic reticulum are located near the basal border. So this endoplasmic reticulum, it synthesizes the protein enzymes, and that is handed over to the Golgi complex. The Golgi complex, it packs that enzymes in a membrane-bounded vacuole or granule, and that is called as zymogen granule. So this zymogen granule, this contains enzymes. For example, it contains amylase, lipase, etc. So these enzymes, these are located inside this granule, and this granule floats inside the cytoplasm, reaches at the apical border, and the cell releases this zymogen granule outside the cell. Like this. This is the diagram of the serous cell. Now, this is the diagram of the compound tubulo-alveolar gland. So how the compound gland it is mainly formed. So here you see, so this is the sublingual salivary gland, and it is a tubulo-alveolar gland. So it contains both the secretory units, tubule as well as the alveolus. So likewise, so the alveolus, it is also secrete both the kind of the substance. Some alveolus, you see, so this is white in color that secrete the mucus, white, all this mucus, and those secrete usually more pinkish or bluish that secrete the serous secretion. So this is the serous secreting unit, and this is the mucus secreting unit. Likewise. So sometimes what happens, the serous secreting unit, it cap over the mucus secreting unit, and this cap or semilunar structure that is called as serous demilunes. So serous demilunes, it is called as. So these are the various. So these are the blood vessels here, blood vessels. And this is the vein, and these are the nerves. That is the parasympathetic nerve, and this is the excretory duct, and this is all the structures comes here like this. So this sublingual gland, it is salivary gland, and it secretes the saliva. What is saliva? Saliva, it is a mucus plus serous secretion. When the mucus secretion it mixed with the serous secretion, the combined substance that is formed, that is called as saliva. Now these glands, salivary glands, these are the parotid, submandibular, or some authors named as a mandibular, sublingual are the major salivary glands. So all these salivary glands, they are enclosed by connective tissue capsule, and from this connective tissue capsule, the septum passes inside the glands, divide the glands, any gland, into different lobes. So these lobes are again subdivided into smaller lobules, and each lobule again subdivided into smaller acinus. And what is seen here, that is all acinus here, acinus. So this is the mucous acinus, and this is the serous acinus. So mucous serous acinus. Sometimes here it is only demilunes, half moon shaped. You see here, it is clearly seen here, half moon shaped serous cell. So that is remains, or that is capped over the mucus secreting cells. So these are the various combinations here. Now, how the duct system is there? So acinus, that is the main secretory unit that is lined by the secretory cells, and that secrete the secretory product, that is the saliva, and that is accumulated in the lumen. From the lumen, the saliva, then it is carried by the intercalated duct, or it is also called a secretory duct. So this intercalated duct or secretory duct, it is also lined by secretory cuboidal epithelium. So that also helps in some part to secrete some part of the saliva. So the secretory duct of surrounding acinus or lobules, acinus or alveoli, it joins together, that form a striated duct. So striated duct usually do not secrete. So striated duct, many striated duct unite to form intralobular duct. So there is one intralobular duct from one lobule of the salivary gland. So many intralobular ducts, they comes together and join by repeated union to form the interlobular duct. And interlobular duct, again by repeated union, they form the single secretory duct. In case of the parotid gland, it is called as parotid duct, or it is also called as Stenson duct. So this is the duct system of the salivary gland, or the complex type of the gland. This is the parenchyma, and this is the duct system. Now, what is the word parenchyma? It is used. So what is this acinus? It is lined by some cells. So the cells lining the acinus, this epithelium lining the acinus, either mucus or the serous, that is the parenchyma. And what is in between the acinus, there is a loose connective tissue, you see. And this loose connective tissue, it contains this blood vessel, nerves, lymphatic, and this connective tissue, it is mainly from the stroma. So connective tissue portion of the gland, it is the stroma, and while this secretory cells, it is called as parenchyma. So parenchyma, it is a functional epithelium of any organ, and stroma, it is a connective tissue of any organ. So parenchyma means functional epithelium, and stroma means connective tissue. Now, serous demilunes of Guénoji. So the serous demilunes of Guénoji are crescent-shaped or crescent moon-shaped serous cells capped over mucus acini. So serous means it secretes the clear watery veil-like fluid, that is the serous. Demi means half. So demi means half, and lune means moon. So demilunes means half moon. So demilunes means half moon shaped or a crescent shaped structure. So these are the, you see, this is the, here you see this is a crescent shaped structure. This is a crescent shaped structure or half moon shaped structure here, that is capped over the mucus secretory unit, mucus acinus, likewise. And this is invented by the scientist Giannuzzi, and his name it is given to this crescent shaped structure, and that is called as cirrus demulans of Giannuzzi. So usually this always appears in exam either in short form or in blanks or in objectives like this. Now, what is next? Myoepithelial cell or basket cells. Myoepithelial cells or basket cells are located between the base of secretory cells and basement membrane. So you see the location here. So all the epithelium it rests on basement membrane. That is the basic thing of the epithelium. All the cells rest on basement membrane. So inside the gland, so these secretory cells are the epithelium that also rest on basement membrane. So in between the secretory cell and basement membrane, there is a one kind of the cell is there. And this cell, it is called as myoepithelial cell or basket cell. So it is located between the base of secretory cells and basement membrane and contain actin, myosin, and cytokeratin filaments. So this name of the cell it is called as myoepithelial. So combination of the two words, myo and epithelial. So myo means a muscle cell, and epithelium means a epithelial cell. So this cell, a particular cell, it has a property of both muscle cell as well as epithelial cell. But second name it is a epithelium. So basically it is a epithelial cell, but it shows the property of a muscle cell. Why it shows the property of a muscle cell? Because its cytoplasm contains the actin and myosin filament, and it is also called as epithelium because it also contains cytokeratin, a characteristic feature of the epithelium. Keratin, it is present in the epithelium, and so this name it is derived by this cell that is called as myoepithelial cell. It is also called as basket cell, just like a basket. So it has a cell body. So do you see my palm region? Yes, students. Hello. First thing. So now you see my palm regions.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Yes, sir. Now this is the palm of my hand. So this central part. So you consider it is for a myoepithelial cell like this. So this central part, this is the cell body or the main cytoplasmic mass of the myoepithelial cell. And these fingers, these are at the place of the cytoplasmic processes of the myoepithelial cell. So this myoepithelial cell, it has a basket-like structure. It has a basket-like structure like this. So it has a cell body in the center, and these are the cell processes. And another that is a cell unit. This is the cell unit here. So this is the serous or mucous unit, and this serous or mucous unit is lined by serous cell, and this is covered by this basket cell like this. And outside this, then there is a basement membrane is there. So outside basement membrane and inner cell, so this basket cell it is there, and it completely encircles this secretory unit of this serous cell or mucous cell and cover it as a like this. So whenever there is a expulsion of the serous fluid or secretion that is stored inside the lumen, so this basket cell it contract like this and thus pushing the secretion inside the lumen of the cells inside the duct system. So when this myoepithelial cell stimulated, the myoepithelial cell contracts. Which part of the myoepithelial cell contracts? This actin and myosin filament that is present in the cytoplasm, it contracts. And because of the contraction of this filament, the cell contracts. And because of the contraction of the cell, it exerts pressure on the serous cell or mucous cell, pressing it, forcing the secretion that is present inside the lumen, inside the duct system. Means the secretion that is secreted, that is passed inside the duct, and then it comes inside the mouth cavity, like this. So this is all about this myoepithelial cell or the basket cell. So here you see it is a diagram illustrating well. So you see this is one of the alveolus. alveolus, and this alveolus internally it is lined by the secretory cell. So you see the secretory cells, they secrete the secretion, saliva inside the, and that is stored, temporarily stored inside the lumen. So this is the lumen of this alveolus, this is the lumen of this alveolus, like this. And these cells are rest on this basement membrane, so that is outside. So this mucous cell that is capped over by the serous cell, and this serous cell do not completely cover. So just in a form of a half moon shape, these serous cells are there, and this serous cell then lies at the head portion or at the convex portion or at the major portion of this mucous cell, and that is called a serous demulons of Giannouchi. So this is the serous demulus, and outside this there is a myoepithelial cell. So this is the nucleus of myoepithelial cell. This is the nucleus of myoepithelial cell. Here you see myoepithelial cell. So these are all nucleus of the myoepithelial cells are there. And when this myoepithelial cell it contracts, it completely presses this complete unit, pushing the secretion here into the duct system like this. So the saliva then from this lumen of this alveolus comes inside the mouth cavity of the animal to this duct system because of the contraction of this myoepithelial cell. Likewise. So this is you see serous demulons of Giannouchi. These are the cells. So this is the striated cell or intercalated duct here. So this is also secrete the secretion, but and this is the striated duct and this is the excrete duct. So usually this intercalated duct and striated duct also contributes the secretion of the gland, while the excrete duct it do not secrete anything. It only carries the secretion to the target organ or inside the mouth cavity. So this is very good diagram showing the different structure as the lumen of the alveolus, shape of the alveolus, the parenchyma of this alveolus, then serous demulus, myoepithelial, everything it is shown here. Now, the glands are classified depending on the mode of their secretion. So, mechanism by which secretory product it is released from the cell. The mechanism by which secretory product is released from the cell is called mode of the secretion. So here there are many glands are there shown in here. So the glands they secrete either mucus or serous. That doesn't matter. But in what way they secrete their secretion outside the cell, and that is the thing. That is the mode. That is the way how this cell secrete. And depending upon this way, this mode, this their system of exocytosis, the glands of the body, it is classified as neurocrine or eccrine glands, apocrine glands, holocrine gland, cytocrine gland, and cytogenic gland. Now we'll study it one after the other. So first we'll study neurocrine or eccrine glands. So the word neurocrine, it is composed of two components, mero and crine. So mero means a little part, mero means a little part, and crine means I secrete. So merocrine means I secrete the secretion of the gland with my little loss. So merocrine gland, the cell they secrete the product, and the product it is released as the small membrane bounded granules. So here you see the first diagram, that is a merocrine gland. So this is the acinus, it is here. The acinus it is lined by this pyramidal cell, and this inside the cell the secretory product is formed, and this secretory product it is a membrane bounded vesicle. Means the secretory product, for example, the mucin protein it is there, and this mucin protein then it is surrounded by a rim of cytoplasm, and then it is completely surrounded by a membrane. So it is packed in that way by the packaging unit of the cell, that is the Golgi complex. And this membrane bounded vesicle then reaches to the apical border of the cell here. And after reaching the apical border of the cell, what happens? There is a cell membrane. So the cell membrane of the cell and the cell membrane and the membrane of this vesicle or granules unite with each other. And at the place of union, there is a break. And as the break is occur, it releases the inner secretion into the lumen. So this is the way, this is the mode of secretion. Now, while doing this, what is lost? Which part of the cell it is lost? So you see this mucin or the in the thymogen granule or the mucilogen daplet. So this secretion it is surrounded by the rim of the cytoplasm, and then by a membrane that is also part of the cell membrane. So this cell membrane, rim of the cytoplasm and the secretion that floats inside the cytoplasm, and at the apical border, the cell membrane unite with the membrane of this secretory vesicle. Thus, break at the point of the contact occur, and then it releases the inner secretion. So inner secretion that either it may be mucin or it may be thymogen granule likewise, but it is still surrounded by a rim of the cytoplasm. And so this rim of the cytoplasm or little cytoplasm is also lost at the time of the secretion. So what part of the cell it is lost at the time of this secretion? So secretion, that is the secretory product, it is meant for the secretion. So it is meant for secretion and that is produced by the cell for secretion. But the part of the cell, that is the little rim that surrounds this secretory product, it is lost. And because of a little part it is lost during the process of this secretion, it is called as merocrine. Merocrine means little part of the cell it is lost at the time of the exocytosis, at the time of the secretion, and this is called as merocrine gland. So the cells of the gland will secrete in this way by losing a little cytoplasm during the process of secretion, which is called as merocrine gland. Now, second diagram, it is of apocrine gland. You see, apocrine. So, apo means the apical portion. Apo means the apical portion of the cell. So, this is the cell, this is the apical border of the cell or apical portion of the cell. This is the basal border of the cell. And these are the lateral borders. So, the lateral borders are very tightly packed, very closely packed with each other by means of the cellular junctions, intercellular bridges. While this apical portion, it is free towards the lumen. Now, in what way this cell secretes? The secretory product, it is formed inside the cytoplasm, and this secretory product, it is stored in a membrane or membrane bounded vacuole. So the secretory product, it is in center, then it is surrounded by a rim of the cytoplasm, and then complete structure is surrounded by a membrane. And this secretory product in a membrane bounded vesicle or droplet, it is put inside the cytoplasm. It reaches the apical border of the cell. And when it reaches the apical border of the cell, so here you see it bulges out. So it is called as evagination of the cell. The surface of the growth out. So evagination of the cell. So the secretory product reaches the apical border of the cell. So it forms a bulge here or bleb here. And the cell membrane at the apical border, it forms a membrane that again covers this secretory product. And again, this complete round structure, it is formed here. Then at the apical border, there is a constriction, a neck is formed. And at the neck or constriction, the cell membrane of the side unite each other and to form a continuous cell membrane, leaving this bleb free inside the lumen. And this is the way of the secretion. So while doing this process, what is the part of the cell it is lost? So autocrine mode, the apex of the secretory cell bursts off and then pinches off, releases its secretion. So secretory product is secretory droplet, it is surrounded by a rim of the cytoplasm plus cell membrane. So cytoplasm plus cell membrane, it is lost. So examples are the sweat and mammary gland. So at the time of the secretion, what is lost by the cell? So secretory product that is there, that is surrounded by a rim of the cytoplasm and the cell membrane. So here in the first merocrine type of the mode, only rim of the cytoplasm it is lost. But here the rim of the cytoplasm but cell membrane it is also lost by the cell during this mode of secretion. And such mode of secretion where the cell loses a little cytoplasm and cell membrane at the apical portion. So it is called as apocrine mode of the secretion, and the glands, it is called as apocrine glands. because during the secretion, the apical portion of the cell it is lost. Apical portion, that is the little cell membrane and the rim of the cytoplasm. It is lost along with the secretion, and that is called as the apocrine mode of the secretion. And the glands are sweat glands, mammary glands. Are these are the good examples. So the third kinds of the secretion that is called as holocrine mode. So the holo means here you see the last sentence. Holo means complete or whole. So complete cell, and crine means I secrete. So during the process of secretion here, third diagram, the complete cell it is lost by the gland as its secretion. So this is the mode. So in the second, only little part cytoplasmic rim and the cell membrane it is lost at the apical part. But here the complete cell it is lost as a secretion. So basically, this is the secretory acinus. All the cells are healthy and rest on the basement membrane. So as the changes are taking place, all the cytoplasmic organelles disappear and changes are taking place that the complete cytoplasmic mass is converted into a viscous, sticky, oily substance that is called a sebum. And then this complete sebum, it is surrounded by the cell. The cell separated from the basement membrane moves toward the center, and this complete cell, it is excreted as the secretion of the cell. And so the name given holocrine. So holo means the complete cell. Now during the process of secretion, which part of the cell it is lost? What lost? The complete cell it is lost. The complete cell it is secreted as its secretion. And so such mode of the secretion, it is called as holocrine mode of the secretion, and that is the sebaceous gland of the skin. Now, another type of the secretion that is called as cytocrine. Cyto means cytoplasm and crine means I secrete. So, the secretory products are secreted in the cytoplasm of adjacent cell, and that is called a cytocrine mode of the secretion. The secretory product is transferred from one cell to the cytoplasm of the another cell. Melanocytes, these are the pigment cell that is present inside the skin. So in the epidermis of the skin, the epidermis it is composed of stratified squamous gelatinous epithelium. So on the basal layer in the stratum basale, this melanocyte or pigment cells are located. So this melanocyte cell synthesize pigment melanin and transfer it from them to the adjacent cell into their cytoplasm of the keratinocyte. Melanocyte transfer brown melanin pigment into the cytoplasm of keratinocyte. Melanocyte present in skin, uterine furuncle of sheath, choroid of the eye, iris of the eye, and meninges of the brain. So these are the different structures where melanocytes are present, and they transfer their secretion, that is the melanin pigment, into the adjacent cell directly into their cytoplasm of the adjacent cell. And such type of the secretion, mode of secretion, that is called as cytocrine mode of the secretion. So these melanocyte cells do not have a duct system. Their secretion do not added to the blood as in case of endocrine glands. But this melanocyte cell, it has a cell processes, and through the cell processes, it is supplied to the adjacent cell. And such mode that is called as cytocrine mode. So next mode that is called as paracrine mode of the secretion. So the neurons secrete acetylcholine outside the cell, which then by diffusion enter into the nerve endings of adjacent neurons. So at the nerve terminal, so this type of the secretion it is taking place. And by this we have completed the classification of the glands. Now, if our class is over and now the topic is open for discussion, so if any student is having any difficulty, you please ask. Yes, student, my voice is audible. Yes. So if you have any question to ask me about classification of the gland epithelial membranes, you can freely ask. Okay, thank you. So our class is over now.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.